envision, fair for a minute, that the most effective device for a important, satisfied life isn't something you can purchase, gain, or be given by others. It's as of now inside you, holding up to be found and tackled. This isn't fair a thought try. It's a reality grounded in the intelligence of Stoicism, a logic that has guided incalculable people through the ages toward living with reason, flexibility, and tranquility. Stoicism educates us that the key to a life well lived isn't found in outside awards or fabric victory, but in acing the craftsmanship of esteeming ourselves through the ethics of shrewdness, boldness, equity, and balance. It's a capable update that, in spite of the chaos and challenges of the outside world, we hold inside us the relentless establishment for our possessed well-being and bliss. We're peeling back the layers of societal desires and self-doubt to reveal the immortal, impassive standards that can change the way we see ourselves and are put in the world. This travel is almost more than fair self-improvement. It's almost rediscovering our inalienable worth and learning to live in arrangement with our most profound values. So if you're prepared to open the entryways to individual flexibility and fulfillment, you're in the right put. Let's set out on this enterprise together, investigating how the intelligence of Stoicism can enlighten the way to esteeming ourselves like never. Sometime recently, the as it were thing I inquire of you is not to skip this video in any way. If you're here, consider yourself diverse from the larger part. Consider yourself an special case. Presently act like one, and do not skip any portion of the substance. Number 1. Tolerating less than you merit. It's something we've all been blameworthy of at one point or another. But whether it's staying around in a work that channels the life out of us, remaining in connections that do not elevate us, or not chasing after the dreams we hold expensive since we're frightened, we settle, we compromise, we tell ourselves this is as great as it gets. But why do we do that? Is it fear? Is it consolation? Or perhaps it's a bit of both. Stoicism instructs us that our genuine worth, our pith, isn't influenced by these outside circumstances. Whether you're in a royal residence or a jail, Stoicism tells us that what really characterizes us is not our circumstance, but how we react to it. It's around recognizing that whereas we may not have control over each viewpoint of our lives, we have the extreme control over our claimed discernments, judgments, and activities. Think approximately it when we acknowledge less than we merit. Aren't we basically saying that our outside circumstances have more control over us than we do? Stoicism welcomes us to challenge that idea. It empowers us to inquire ourselves. Is this circumstance adjusting with my values? Am I reacting to this in a way that reflects my genuine worth? And if the reply is no, Stoicism doesn't fair take off us there in a state of loose hope. No, it engages us. It says, you have the control to alter your discernment, to select your reaction, and in doing so, to change your reality. So when you discover yourself tolerating less than you merit, keep in mind this stolid shrewdness. Remind yourself that your worth is not decided by your work title, your relationship status, or the estimate of your bank account. Your worth is decided by your capacity to stay genuine to your values, to act with strength, intelligence, and keenness, no matter the circumstances. This isn't approximately faulting ourselves for our circumstances, but around enabling ourselves to see and seize the control we do have. Let's not settle for less, not since we're entitled or pompous, but since we recognize our inborn worth. Let's react to life's challenges with the quality and strength that come from knowing who we are and what we stand for. And when we do that, we're not fair living, we're flourishing in genuine impassive desire. Stoicism, with its significant understanding of human nature, it doesn't empower us to brag or expand our egos, but what it does energize is a reasonable and legitimate acknowledgement of our claim endeavors and excellencies. Why? Since recognizing our accomplishments is not around bolstering our pride, it's almost recognizing the work, the teach, the tirelessness it took to get there. It's approximately honoring our commitment to our objectives and our adherence to our values. Let's break it down a bit in Stoicism. Ethics, like shrewdness, mettle, equity, and restraint are central when you accomplish something, no matter how huge or little. It's frequently since you've worked out these ethics, possibly it took mettle to apply for that work, intelligence to explore the challenges along the way, or teach a frame of restraint to organize that closet. When you property your victory to good fortune, or lessen it as something anybody might do, you're not fair underestimating the result. You're underestimating the ethics you honed to get there. So how do we alter this attitude? How do we begin recognizing our accomplishments without tipping into self-importance? The Stoic approach is almost a just and trustworthiness. It's around saying, yes, I worked difficult for this. Yes, I confronted challenges and overcame them. And yes, this accomplishment is a reflection of my exertion and my ethics. It's approximately giving yourself credit where credit is due, not for the purpose of your sense of self, but for the purpose of truth. Presently, I need you to think almost something you've accomplished as of late. It doesn't matter how huge or little it is. Think almost the ethics you practiced to accomplish it. Perhaps you appeared extraordinary, teach. Possibly you took a courageous step out of your consolation zone. Or maybe you utilized your shrewdness to fathom an issue. Whatever it is, take a minute to recognize it. Recognize the excellencies behind the accomplishment. This workout isn't almost tapping yourself on the back. It's almost seeing the truth of your claimed character and exertion. Grasping this Stoic home can change the way we see our triumphs and ourselves. It moves us absent from wrong humility and towards a honest to goodness appreciation, our possessed qualities and capabilities. It educates us that recognizing our accomplishments isn't around inner self. It's approximately recognizing the ethics we've epitomized and the difficult work we put in. It's a common situation, isn't it? Whether it's remaining late at work to offer assistance, a colleague skipping your morning run to make breakfast for your family, or putting your possessed dreams on hold to bolster somebody else's. It feels respectable, caring, indeed courageous at times. But here's the turn: always putting others to begin with, at the cost of your possessed well-being, can lead to burnout, hatred, and a misfortune of self. It's like attempting to fill mugs from an perch picture. In the long run, you run out. Stoicism isn't almost being segregated or childish. In reality, it places extraordinary accentuation on ethicalness and the improvement of society. In any case, it too instructs us the basic significance of self-care. Why? Since caring for oneself isn't childish, it's the establishment of being able to care for others successfully. Stoicism reminds us that to be a benefit to others, we must to begin with guarantee that we are in a great put ourselves, physically, rationally, and profoundly. Let's unload this a bit. Stoicism educates us approximately the polarity of control, understanding what is inside our control and what isn't, our possessed considerations, convictions, activities, and yes, self-care are inside our control, the well-being of others. As much as we may wish, something else isn't straightforwardly beneath our control. What we can control, in any case, is how well prepared we are to offer assistance back and a door to those around us. And that begins with taking care of ourselves. Think around it this way. When you're well rested, solid, and at peace, how much more persistent, understanding, and show are you for the individuals in your life? How much more successfully can you contribute to their well-being? This isn't fair, almost physical well-being. It's around mental and enthusiastic strength. It's approximately having the internal assets to be compassionate, to offer shrewd direct, and to be a source of soundness and quality for others. So how do we strike this adjust? How do we guarantee we're not dismissing our possessed needs in the handle of making a difference others? It begins with recognizing that self-care isn't an extravagance or an idea in retrospect. It's a need. It implies making time for things that recharge us, whether that's workout, contemplation, perusing, or basically investing a few calm minutes alone. It implies setting boundaries and being firm with saying no when we require to. And it implies doing these things not out of self-indulgence, but out of a commitment to being our best selves for the individuals we care almost. I need to challenge you to think around one way you can prioritize your possessed well-being this week. Perhaps it's committing to a day-by-day walk, carving out time for a pastime you cherish, or setting boundaries around your work hours. Anything it is. Remember that this act of self-care isn't fair for you. It's a way of guaranteeing that when you do appear up for others, you're appearing up as the best form of yourself. Stoicism educates us the significance of seeing ourselves impartially. This implies recognizing our qualities fair as transparently as we recognize our ranges for change. It's almost understanding our esteem, not in an envying way, but in a adjusted and reasonable way. Why do we battle with tolerating compliments? Frequently it's since we're seeing ourselves through a misshaped focal point. We might be centering as well much on our flaws, or maybe we're conditioned to accept that recognizing our qualities some way or another makes us pompous. But here's a impassive viewpoint to consider. Lowliness is not approximately denying our qualities. It's almost recognizing them in a grounded and practical way. It's around seeing ourselves as we really are without the embellishments of sense of self or the shadows of uncertainty. Stoicism educates us that our worth is not decreased by recognizing our accomplishments and qualities. In truth, tolerating compliments charitably is a way to hone self-awareness and objectivity. It permits us to see the excellencies we have and the endeavors we've made, giving us a clear understanding of our genuine selves. When somebody compliments us, they're frequently recognizing something honest to goodness in us, something worth lauding. Rejecting these minutes victimizes us of the opportunity to see ourselves through another's eyes, to get at our effect on the world around us. So how do we get way better at tolerating compliments? It begins with altering our mentality. When somebody offers you commend, attempt to see it as a reflect, being held up to your excellencies and endeavors. Instead of avoiding, take a minute to consider the truth in their words. You can hone by essentially saying, "Thank you," no minimization, no avoidance, fair appreciation for the acknowledgement of your endeavors and qualities. Additionally, Stoicism empowers us to utilize these minutes as openings for reflection. Inquire yourself, what did I do to gain this commend? How does it reflect my excellencies and endeavors? This isn't approximately nourishing your self-image. It's almost understanding and recognizing the portion of you that's competent of fabulousness and effect. Have you ever stood some time recently a choice, maybe apparently straightforward, however found yourself paralyzed, incapable to choose this wavering, This fear of making the off-base choice is more than fair hesitation. It's a reflection of a more profound issue, a need of self-trust. It's as if we're standing at the edge of a jumping board, looking into the pool underneath, knowing we require to hop, but incapable to make the jump. Stoicism offers a light. In this mist of hesitation, it educates us that the pith of astute decision-making lies not in ensuring results, but in basing our choices on intelligence and reason. Stoicism reminds us that whereas we cannot control the result of our choices, we have total control over the prepare of making those choices. It's around adjusting our choices with our values, acting with astuteness and tolerating the results, anything they may be, as portion of the characteristic stream of life. Why do we fear making choices regularly? It's since we're anxious of making the off-base choice, driving to results we see as disappointments or botches. In any case, Stoicism welcomes us to reframe our understanding of botches and disappointments. In the impassive sea, each result is an opportunity for learning and development. There are no disappointments, as it were lessons. This viewpoint empowers us to believe ourselves, to make choices with strength and certainty, knowing that anything the result, it will contribute to our advancement and understanding. But how do we develop this belief in ourselves? How do we reinforce our decision-making muscles? So to talk, it starts with grasping shrewdness and reason. Sometime recently making a choice. Take a minute to reflect. Inquire yourself, does this choice incline with my values? Am I acting with astuteness? By establishing your choices in your center values and reason, you guarantee that in any case of the result, your choice was made with the best eagerly and understanding you had at the minute. Stoicism instructs us the significance of tolerating and learning from the results of our choices. Each result, whether it's what we trusted for or not, holds profitable experiences. It's welcome to reflect, to get at what worked, what didn't, and how we can apply these lessons moving forward. This prepare of reflection and learning cultivates self-trust. It consoles us that we are competent of exploring the questionable waters of life, making choices that reflect our values, and developing from each involvement. Stoicism instructs us the craftsmanship of insight, especially approximately where we coordinate our mental vitality. It tells us that fixating over our imperfections and disappointments, beating ourselves up for each misstep, is like attempting to cruise a transport, whereas overlooking the wind and tides, we're centering on the off-base things. The stolid shrewdness beseeches us to recognize that flawlessness is a dream and unattainable illusion. The objective in step is advance, persistent, and consider steps towards getting to be way better adaptations of ourselves. Why do we drop into this trap of intemperate self-criticism? Frequently it's since we're measuring ourselves against incomprehensible measures, ones that we wouldn't dream of holding anybody else to. We disregard that being human intrinsically implies being imperfect, making botches, and most critically, having the capacity to learn and develop from them. Stoicism offers a capable cure to this self-imposed oppression, the home of self-compassion, and the interest of advance over flawlessness. Self-compassion, from an impassive perspective, isn't approximately snuggling ourselves or making pardons for our inadequacies. It's around treating ourselves with the same benevolence, understanding, and absolution that we would offer to a great companion. It's recognizing that mishaps are not prosecutions of our character, but portion of the human involvement. When we falter, the impassive reaction isn't to scold ourselves, but to inquire, what can I learn from this? How can I develop? Grasping this mentality requires a move in how we see our travel, each exertion, each endeavor. Indeed, those that do not surrender that comes about we trusted for, is a step forward. Advance, not flawlessness, gets to be our mantra. This doesn't cruel. We gotten to be smug or uninterested to advancement. On the opposite, it implies we seek after development more intensely, but with the shrewdness to know that development is regularly nonlinear, full with challenges and delightfully flawed. Why is it so simple to drop into the comparison trap? Portion of it is human nature. We have a natural inclination to gauge our esteem and achievements against those of the individuals around us. But in the age of social media, this slant is intensified to an exceptional degree. We're besieged with previews of others' lives that appear to exhibit as it were the crests, never the valleys, driving us to address the worth and centrality of our encounters. Stoicism offers a powerful cure to this discomfort: the development of self-awareness and appreciation for our travel. It empowers us to divert our look internal, to center our individual development excellencies and the advance we've made. Stoicism doesn't advocate for segregation or lack of concern to others, but advances the thought of motivation over comparison. It educates us to appreciate the excellencies and victories of others, without lessening our esteem or advance. How can we apply solid standards to combat the comparison trap? To begin with, by practicing mindfulness and catching ourselves when we begin comparing our behind the scenes to somebody else's highlight reel. It's approximately reminding ourselves that social media is a curated display, not an precise reflection of regular life. Stoicism instructs us the esteem of centering on what's inside our control, our endeavors, our states of mind, our ethics. These are the seeds from which our special travel develops. By concentrating on supporting these seeds, we develop a cultivate that's wealthy with individual noteworthiness, autonomous of outside approval or comparison. Finally, appreciation plays an urgent part. By cultivating appreciation for our encounters, challenges and accomplishments, we grapple ourselves in the show and appreciate the lavishness of our lives. This doesn't cruel we gotten to be smug, or maybe it enables us to endeavor for enhancement and development from a put of satisfaction, not insufficiency. Have you ever found yourself putting off that course you needed to take, that side interest you needed to begin, or indeed ignoring your self-care schedule? It's something numerous of us are blameworthy of. This isn't fair. Almost not having sufficient time or assets at its center. It's regularly almost not recognizing our esteem. It's as if we're saying to ourselves, I'm not worth the exertion. But here's the thing, Stoicism with its significant experiences into human nature and morals challenges us to see self-improvement not fair as a movement, but as a shape of self-respect. Stoicism instructs us that our capacity for reason and ideals sets us separated, and it's through the development of these that we discover genuine fulfillment. Seneca, a stolid rationalist, compared life to a cultivate. Fair as a cultivate requires steady tending to prosper, so as well does our inward world require consideration and care. Dismissing our individual development is associated to dismissing a cultivate without speculation. Both will fall flat to flourish. But why do we regularly falter to contribute in ourselves? Now and then it's since we're caught in the trap of quick satisfaction, choosing transitory joys over long-term fulfillment. Other times it's due to a more profound issue, a need of self-esteem, or the conviction that we're not worth the exertion. Stoicism, in any case, It's a counter-narrative. It attests that each person has characteristic worth and potential for ideals, contributing in our development, be it through learning unused abilities, investigating pastimes, or practicing self-care, is a confirmation to recognizing and honoring that worth. How, at that point, can we begin to make that speculation in ourselves, in line with stolid reasoning? It starts with moving our attitude. We require to begin seeing self-improvement as a basic non-negotiable perspective of our lives. This doesn't cruel upgrading our lives overnight. Instead, it's almost making little reliable speculations in ourselves. It may be as straightforward as perusing a book on a theme that captivates us, committing a few minutes each day to reflection, or taking up a leisure activity that brings us delight. Besides, Stoicism educates us approximately the significance of reflection and self-examination. This home permits us to get at our qualities and regions for development, directing our individual speculation endeavors. By frequently taking stock of our lives, setting objectives, and reflecting on our events, we cultivate a sense of reason and heading. This handle of self-reflection and goal-setting isn't for almost accomplishing outside markers of victory. It's around adjusting our activities with our values, developing our ethics, and living a life of reason and meaning. Another key angle is grasping the concept of long-lasting learning. The Stoics accepted that intelligence was not a goal, but a travel. Receiving an attitude of interest and openness to modern encounters can change the way we see individual speculation. It's not a chore, but an enterprise, opportunity to investigate the endless scenes of information and involvement that life has to offer. Genuine approval comes from inside, from living in arrangement with our values and standards. The Stoics accepted that the as it were things genuinely inside our control are our possessed activities, eagerly, and reactions. Marcus Aurelius smoothly reminded us that it's not the suppositions of others that aggravate us, but our possessed judgments, almost those suppositions. Why do we discover ourselves looking for outside approval at its center? It's regularly established in uncertainty and a deep-seated fear of not being sufficient in a world that continually assaults us with messages around what we ought to be, do, or have. It's simple to lose locate of our claim way, but Stoicism welcomes us to divert our look internal, to center on developing our character and living a life of ideals. It instructs us that genuine peace and fulfillment come not from the brief and flighty endorsement of others, but from knowing we've lived genuine to ourselves. So how can we break free from the chains of outside approval? The to begin with step is self-awareness. By getting to be careful of our inclinations to look for endorsement, we can begin to address the thought processes behind our activities. Are we seeking after an objective, since it adjusts with our values, or since we're looking for praise? Stoicism instructs us to lock in normal self-reflection, to look at our eagerly and guarantee they're established in our claim values and standards. Another stolid home that can offer assistance us combat the require for outside approval is the improvement of self-sufficiency. This doesn't cruel confining ourselves or getting to be detached to others, or maybe it's around finding satisfaction and fulfillment inside ourselves, recognizing that we are total as we are. Epictetus, another stolid rationalist, emphasized the significance of centering on what's inside our control and letting go of what isn't. By developing internal satisfaction, we ended up less dependent on outside sources of approval. Stoicism, moreover, energizes us to rethink our concept of victory. Instead of measuring victory by outside awards or accomplishments, Stoicism educates us to degree it by our capacity to live agreeing to our values.